in this one, I'm just going to add a brushed metal material to our railings. So let's get started. So I'm just going to zoom in over here and take a look at this railing. So again, if I press Ctrl B, I can just make a render selection over this, and I can press Z and rendered. So if I select this railing and we take a look at the material, I can just click use nodes. And what I might do is come down here to the settings and the viewport color. I'm just going to set it to blue for this one. And if I do the same thing for the fence glass, I can maybe change this to yellow. And for the fence metal, maybe set this to red. And for the fence wood, then I can maybe come down here and change this to blue. So we can see what's what, basically. What I'd like to do is just have the same material on this fence wood that's on the fence metal. So I'm going to click use nodes here, and I'm just going to delete that diffuse and press Shift A, and under shader I'm going to add a principled BSDF. Just going to plug that in there. What I want is a kind of a rough metal appearance, kind of a brushed metal, I guess. I'm going to leave the color as it is. So for metal, I'm going to drag the metal up right the way up, and you can see that it's beginning to look shiny. I'm going to bring down the specular, and the roughness, I'm going to reduce the roughness a little bit for the moment anyway, and just bring it down there slightly. So I'm going to add a couple of nodes. So I'm just going to select the principled BSDF and press Ctrl T. So that gives me 3 nodes, and I want the texture coordinate and the mapping. I'm just going to select the image texture and press delete. Press Shift A. I want a Musgrave texture, just to give it a little bit of distortion really. So I'm just going to drag over the material output and this, and I can plug the mapping into the vector. So for the color, I'm just going to plug it into the roughness. So we need to put an invert on this. So Shift A, come down to color and invert, and just drop that on top there. And I can start increasing the scale on this, just so maybe 2 and 2. Press enter, and I'm just going to zoom in there a little bit. Just drag it up. You can see the lines starting to appear there. Just going to leave it at that for a second. And I'm actually going to switch this from UV to generated. And I'll just switch it, the lines the opposite direction. It looks a little bit better. Looks more machined. Okay, and I'm going to be happy enough with that. And for the fence, I'm going to select this material, click use nodes, and I'm going to set up the very same material on this. So again, Shift A, I can add a shader and a principled BSDF. Do some variation on this one if you like. I'm going to increase the metallic anyway, first off, to 1. I'm going to reduce the specular, and maybe just reduce the roughness a little bit more with this selected. Then I'm just going to press Ctrl T, and actually for the Ctrl T to work, make sure you have the Node Wrangler enabled. So if you come up to File, User Preferences, come down towards the bottom, this guy here, the Node Wrangler, make sure that's enabled. So I'm just going to select the image texture, delete that. So Shift A, texture, I'm going to go for a Musgrave again. Just going to select these 3 and press G, just drag this over. And Shift A, I need to add a color and an invert, and just connect this up here to the color and connect this up to the roughness. And again, I can adjust the scale then to suit what I kind of want, and I'm going to use generated on this again. So for the scale here, I might just increase this to 100. So select this, maybe 0.2, click in here, change this again just to suit what I had before. Seemed to work pretty good. Just need to connect up this vector. Okay, generated doesn't seem to be doing the same kind of business, so I'm going to switch that back to UV. That looks a little bit better. Okay, so that's a nice brushed metal look. It's going to come back to solid, and I'm going to press Ctrl Alt B just to remove that border. Okay, and that should have updated on the rest of those guys. So if I just quickly give this a quick render, okay, all 3 of these now have the same material, and you can adjust that more if you want to. Okay, so I'm going to come back to solid, and that's going to do it for this one.